weekly briefing presented by the Emergency Leadership Team. My name is Ruth Jackson, and I'm joined, as always, by my colleagues Teresa Powell, Mario Holland, Joshua Snavely, and Joshua Busby. In today's webinar, we will begin, as we always do, by providing our COVID-19 status update. We'll once again talk through the testing protocol for our residential students. We'll share information about our vaccination interest survey, provide an update on where we are with the HERF Phase 2 funding. This week we'll have a segment on planning for severe weather. It's that time in Oklahoma. And as always, we will end by reflecting on resilience. So this time, I will ask Chief Holland to provide our weekly status update. Chief?
Good afternoon and welcome everyone, and thank you, Dr. Jackson. I wanted to first let you know that as of last week, the state of Oklahoma has gone from a daily to a weekly reporting of the COVID-19 data. So some of the numbers that you're going to see today and in the future is definitely going to reflect that a delay as far as the either increases or decreases. So please keep that in mind. But as of noon today, the state of Oklahoma had a 0.3% weekly increase in total cases. As far as the number of active cases, the state had a 3.9% weekly decrease. And the unfortunate news, there was a 1.9% weekly increase as far as deaths in the state of Oklahoma. For our county, Logan County, there were no increases of cases. And as far as active cases, we had a 3.8% weekly decrease. And the unfortunate news for the county, there was an increase as far as in deaths. And for the university, total cases overall is 101. And we only have one active case for the university. So with that, I will pass it to Dean Busby, who will talk to you about COVID testing for employees and students. Dean?
Thanks, Chief. Good afternoon, everybody. And so, of course, this week we will continue to offer complimentary testing services through our partner Total Wellness to help us to mitigate the risk of COVID-19. There are no appointments are necessary this week, but what I will say is we will not be offering any testing in Oklahoma City or at the Tulsa campus. Of course, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, we do offer testing in the multi from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then on Thursday and Friday, you see a longer time period there. And that is because of our campus residents, our campus housing residents that are staying in university housing will be testing on Thursday and Friday. I do want to reiterate that not only is this service available for students, it's also available for our faculty and staff. And so faculty and staff members, you all are welcome at any time to come over, of course, during the time that the testing center is open, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Or Thursday and Friday of this week from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. To be tested as well. Of course, as we continue our ongoing surveillance testing program, of course, that is aimed at mitigating the spread of COVID-19 on our campus. The next phase, as stated earlier, of campus-wide resident testing will occur this Thursday and Friday. Again, testing will occur in a multi from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Those students should have already received some messaging, so make sure to check your emails on the regular to make an appointment. You'll utilize the Calendly system, which is the same system we utilized in January, the same system we utilized in February, same system we're utilizing in March as well. And so want to make sure that you all are aware of that, and that email is forthcoming. And at this time, I will prepare to turn it over to Mrs. Powell, who will talk about and bring us updates on the COVID-19 vaccine survey.
Thank you, Dean Busby. I would love to, but my PowerPoint is doing something a little strange right now. So not really sure what's happening here. Give us just a minute, everybody. Sorry. Try this again. There we go. Okay. So we have shared in prior webinars, and we've also talked about the vaccination efforts of the university and some of the messaging that's been sent out from the emergency leadership team. And now we're bringing to you today an introduction and reminder about a survey of interest that we're going to be sharing with the university community. The need for the vaccine is something that we take very seriously. We want to understand what that need is for our university community, whether it is something that is worthwhile for us to pursue with a vendor. We've shared in prior webinars that we're looking to secure a vendor to provide these services to the university, and this survey of interest is going to help us determine the quantity that we need to plan for and the timing of those vaccinations should we be able to secure those services. So you will be seeing some messaging around this survey very soon in your email inboxes, but we wanted to give you a preview today. So you'll see the portion of the survey on the screen. It's 10 questions. It's pretty simple, but we did want to give you some explanation of the survey and kind of walk through it today just briefly. So you'll see on the screen right now just demographic information. Tell us who you are. Tell us if you're a student, faculty, staff member. Give us some contact information there so that we can help determine the individuals that are inquiring about the vaccine, interested in the vaccine, so that we can plan the quantities based on the information that we receive. And the remaining questions of the survey really get to some of the more complex matters of the vaccine, keeping in mind that the state of Oklahoma is really managing the deployment of the vaccine. We may not have any control over which type of vaccine we get, what the manufacturer of the vaccine might be, but we certainly want to understand the need of the community and the interest of the community. So I'm not going to go through all of these questions word for word, but did want to give you a preview as to what you can expect. We are going to be asking questions about, for our students especially, give us some information about your interest in the vaccine. We do want to know whether or not you carry health insurance. If you don't, that's not a problem. That won't be an obstacle to receiving the vaccine should we be able to provide that through the university. So please keep that in mind. That's not a disqualifier if you are interested in receiving the vaccine through this initiative. So we will be sharing this soon, and on this next screen, this is a QR code that you can use right now if you'd like to go directly to the survey of interest and start filling that out and get us some information about your interest in the vaccine so that we can begin to plan the quantities that may be needed for the university community. And now I will ask Dr. Jackson to give us an update on the HERF2 grant funding opportunity. Dr. Jackson.
Thank you. So this week we want to provide, as she said, the update on where we stand with our HERF Phase 2 grants. Just as a point of reference, the university received $1.5 million earmarked to be distributed to students. This money should be used to help offset any expenses that occurred that students are dealing with in relation to the pandemic. To date, we have over 1,000 applications, and so we're really pleased with the level of interest that we've received. As a reminder, in order for a student to be eligible, student must be enrolled in at least one class. And so we want to encourage our students to apply for the HERF2 funding if you're enrolled and if you have a need. According to the funders, the government has indicated that we have to give priority to certain students, and those are students who have a demonstrated exceptional need. And this is demonstrated in most cases by those who receive Pell Grants. Again, it's not the requirement, but certainly priority has to be given to these students. Anyone who is interested in applying, please note that the deadline is coming up. Applications must be submitted by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, March 31st. Once the applications close, we will begin as soon as possible to notify our students of their awards. So with that, I will ask Dean Snavely to provide an introduction to this season's severe weather plans. Dean?
Thanks, Dr. Jackson. It is that time of year. It's as we know right now, if you're on the Langston campus, you're experiencing some rain as we speak. May impact our webinar. Sometimes it has a tendency to do that. So we're glad to be with you. Glad to have this conversation. It's really important for us as a community as we approach this time of year that has impacted so many Oklahomans and adopted Oklahomans throughout the years, for us to remind folks of what we enter here in especially this part of the country, and all the work that the university administration and stakeholders do to prepare for this time of year. And so we wanted to highlight a few of those things today as we get closer. Often that starts to ramp up in April, May, and June. Really, our emergency operations around weather, they run year round, encompass snow and ice and all of that good stuff, which we've experienced two pretty significant events in this academic year in those settings. But particularly late March, April, May, and June are times when our groups are really activated in this area. So in 2019, Dr. Smith, our president, reorganized our approach to severe weather events. And that includes this group you see in front of you, the executive policy group, as you've become to know us all too well in these webinars, as well as our emergency leadership team, which contains representation from all across the campus, both internal and external stakeholders. And those two groups together monitor and really serve as the backbone for preparing and responding in these type of events. So we do any number of things in this time of year, and wanted to highlight a few of those here. We're monitoring on a daily basis, both local media and the National Weather Service. We are communicating on a daily basis, both the executive policy group and the emergency leadership team, as we see potential severe weather events. Sometimes that's every hour, sometimes it's every couple of hours, depending on what the projections are like on any given day. The Office of Public Relations works with our EPG and ELT to prepare notifications. And we'll talk more about that in a minute, based on watches and warnings, and you'll see those come out, and VP Powell will talk about those. One of our key responsibilities is coordinating during all of these types of events, both before and after and during, how we're going to keep business operations going, how we're going to keep people safe and ready. And that's a constant coordination process. Now, as a result of the pandemic, we're coordinating with those stakeholders on a daily basis. It happened a little less frequently, but still at an important cadence outside of the pandemic. But for now, we have daily, weekly meetings in which we're talking about these types of events. And then, of course, directing resources both in advance, during, and after when these potential events might happen. So that's a brief overview of what we all sort of do in our, not in our day jobs, right? In these emergency functions. All of the folks on the call, all of the members of the ELT have other responsibilities on the campus, but this is one of our most important charges from President Smith in preparing the campus. So with that, we're gonna go old school, grade school, and let Chief Holland do a little description for maybe some non-Oklahomans of what watches and warnings are, just as a great reminder as we approach this season. Chief?
Thanks, Dean. Okay, so as far as with our severe weather here in Oklahoma, it gets interesting this time of year. It's very active. And from some of the information that I've seen, it appears that we're going to have a pretty active spring this year. So just like for today, a significant weather advisory is issued for strong thunderstorms that are below the severe levels. They're usually associated with wind gusts, wind fronts, squall lines, things of that nature that you would hear with local media. And hail sometimes going up to, it could potentially golf ball size, but typically 1 inch hail or less are the type of advisories that are put out before a storm or severe storm. Today, there's a potential for western central Oklahoma strong storms, large hail and wind gusts of 40 to plus miles per hour is likely for the main campus area. The time frame is 6 to 10 p.m. for those storms to start, but we are in a marginal risk area for any type of severe activity based upon certain weather conditions and the timing as well. For a severe thunderstorm watch, the Storm Prediction Center down at the National Weather Service in Norman, they will issue those when conditions are favorable for development of severe thunderstorms over a large scale region. So our zone is going to be Northwest Texas, Western North Oklahoma, as well as Central, South Central, and North Central Oklahoma for our Storm Prediction Center region. And then you have the Tulsa Forecast Office, that's for the eastern portion of the state, including where the campus locations are located. So for a watch, tornadoes are not expected in such situations, but there's an isolation. There were last week, there were some storms in the state that there were a severe thunderstorm watch that had an isolated tornado development out by Godibo, which dropped down immediately quick. It was on the ground maybe a minute, and then it went back up in the atmosphere. For severe thunderstorm warnings, these are issued when there's evidence on radar or a reliable storm spotter spots, funnel cloud rotation or circulation first, and or rotation on the ground to report a thunderstorm that's producing a potential tornado or tornadic supercell. Those will produce wind gusts of 58 miles an hour or greater. There could be structural wind damage, hail, 1 inch or greater in diameter as well. For tornado watch, it's issued by, once again, the Storm Prediction Center. And those are where severe thunderstorms or superstorms or tornadoes are likely in a great area, forecast area. 2 days ago, you saw that between Arkansas, Alabama, and Mississippi and Louisiana. So they put out a watch in that area, and all those states had conditions which were favorable for those type of storms. And for tornado warning, is issued when there's evidence based on radar or reliable storm spotter that a tornado is either occurring or imminent. So those are a lot of the advisories you will see in the spring dealing with the type of storms that we have. And so this will now transition into Mrs. Powell giving us about our severe weather notifications that we give out to our community.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for that great description. We rely on Chief so much for his expertise in the weather, and he always does a great job of giving us a heads up when something is coming our way for any of our campus locations. So really appreciate that. So many of you have seen emails from the Office of Public Relations or text messages or received phone calls through our RAVE system or seen messaging on social media whenever we have a severe weather incident or event that we know is coming that could affect one or more of our campus locations. We do have some protocols in place to communicate via the ELT, specifically with Chief Holland and his team, as well as with the Office of Public Relations. So when we know that there's going to be the potential for a severe weather event, we are preparing in advance to ensure that we are ready if and when those notifications need to be sent. If we have a severe weather watch, which as we know from Chief's description, conditions are right for a potential event, then you're likely going to see some messaging via the email client through our news from the Office of Public Relations that goes right to your inbox. You'll see some messaging from the university just to let you know that severe weather is possible. If at any time there is a warning, meaning that there is a severe weather event occurring or about to occur in any of our campus locations, that's when we will activate more intrusive notification measures. So we will activate our RAVE notifications, which would be a text alert to all users. Anyone with a Lion Key activated, student, faculty, or staff member, you would receive, if you've signed up for the through the Lion Key system for the notifications, then you would receive a text right to your mobile device, letting you know that we have issued a notification concerning a severe weather warning. We would also, of course, be pushing out notifications via email and through social media channels if that were to occur. And speaking of RAVE, I want to give everyone just a quick reminder about the RAVE system. You no longer have to sign up for that manually. Once you register and activate your Lion Key, you're automatically going to be included in our RAVE notifications. And just to reacclimate everyone to that process, when you go into your Lion Key account services, you will be able to select add and update your contact information, and that will allow you just to update your phone number if that has changed. Your email will already be connected to your Lion Key, so there's no need to update any information there. But once you update that information, you will automatically be included in any RAVE notifications that are sent out from the university, and that's all managed through our Lion Key system. So it's a really great tool. We only use it if it is truly an emergency. We try not to use that or overuse that. We don't want, we want the RAVE alerts to truly get your attention and let you know that something is happening in or around the area and that you need to take action immediately. And I'll ask Dean Busby now to give us more information on where to find our shelters and the process that occurs if and when severe weather occurs. Dean Busby?
Thanks so much, Mrs. Powell. And so this slide and the information that we're providing for you is something that we want to make sure that everybody who's on campus, regardless of if you have not only an office on the Langston campus, but also if you reside on the Langston campus, either in the Commons or Cimarron Gardens or wherever, we want to make sure that you are aware that all of the shelters on all campuses are unlocked during severe weather watch events. LUPD chief and his team coordinates the unlocking of all of those shelters to make sure that if they are needed, they will be accessible. On the Langston campus, the East Gate, which is currently locked, would be unlocked as well for our campus residents from the Commons and anybody that may come over from the town of Langston to be able to access the campus as well. That would be the only time at this time that the East Gate to the campus would be unlocked. And of course, also the tornado shelter and emergency guides are available in the Campus Shield app, which Chief is going to talk a little bit more about that here a little bit, as well as on the Langston University website. Tornado sirens will also sound when there is any tornadic weather within 15 minutes of the area. If we can get advance notice. Of course, sometimes, of course, depending on where those storms are, it could potentially just be, a little closer than that. But anytime we can get that advance notice, you will hear the tornado sirens going off. And I guarantee you, if you're on campus, you will be able to hear those sirens. The sirens will sound for about 3 minutes or so in duration, and any additional sirens will sound if need be, if the threat is still imminent. So again, what you're seeing here, this image is also available in the Campus Shield app, as well as the Langston University app, which is all of the shelters, the emergency shelters that we have, both primary and secondary, that are available on our campus. And you'll see the buildings. If you're in this building, this is where you would go, et cetera, et cetera. If you're in this property, this campus housing property, this is where you would go as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief to give us some additional insight into the Campus Shield app, as well as some other general information. Chief.
Appreciate it, Dean. So to follow up what Dean Busby had just shared, you saw the tornado shelter map that was on the previous screen. And so by having the Campus Shield app and downloading it, you would be able to have that information in the palm of your hand. Simply, it is from the home screen, you would click on the campus resources, and under the resources, you see our emergency guide, our current trolley schedule as well, whenever the trolley from Guthrie comes here on the campus. As far as the campus map that identifies each building here on our campus, the parking manual and handbook, the student handbook, and then you see the last 4 weather emergencies. That list that was on the previous screen shows the tornado shelters. In the event with the rave notification, you can also receive notifications via this app as well on any type of important and emergency notifications through this area. You can also have in this app, if you were out in the area and since we're talking about weather and you see something hanging down out of the sky, you can send that information and even take a picture and send it to us, and we can look at it based upon the type of information that you provide for us. And we'll go out and look at that and see, in fact, if that's something that we need to send a warning, if there's not already a warning put out for that. So one of the important things about this particular screen and this app is it's a very good tool. You can download it, iPhone users, in the App Store, or for Droid users in Google Play. So I would encourage you to download this today so you can receive those alerts as well, additional alerts whenever we have significant weather. Or you can also communicate with us as well, submitting a tip. I mean, there's a lot that this app can do. So I would highly encourage you all to definitely download that if you haven't already done so. And next, I want you to stay, and we all want you to stay, weather aware. This information here is through the National Weather Service out of Norman. One thing that I definitely want to stress is, please, in any type of emergency event, especially if there's a watch put out, you get an alert through, a local news station or channel. You see information, email, you get a rave alert, you get an alert through the Campus Shield app. Make sure that your devices are charged. You want to have your, phone available. So if there were an instance to where you were in an emergency situation, you're in Oklahoma City, or you're in Tulsa and a tornado happened to go through that area, you want to be able to have your devices charged so you can make calls to, your loved ones and your friends to let them know that you are okay. This is information that is put out annually before tornado season that we're in, and you want to ensure that you have a safety plan and know where to seek shelter beforehand. So, with the app, with the map, you want to go to your nearest shelter location. I stress that. what is nearest and available to you. You want to go there. Find multiple ways that you can monitor and get weather information, which we will send that out. But you also have local news channels, 45925, as well to receive that information. You can also visit the National Weather Service in Norman's webpage at weather.gov/Norman. You can also look at their Twitter and Facebook accounts. Twitter, they put out stuff periodically, more than they do on Facebook. So that's good information to have as well. So for your tornado safety guidelines, you know, I know some want to go out and look at storms, but that is not safe. You definitely want to seek shelter if there is that threat. The safest place, obviously, is to be underground in an underground shelter, or you can be in the lowest level, a basement. Those are good locations. In a home or sturdy building, you want to go to the lowest level, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, cover it with pillows or cushions to block flying debris. And I stress, you are not safe in a vehicle whatsoever. So please, or even being outdoors. If you're in a second level, third level, you want to go to the lowest level and put as many walls between you and that threat of a storm. So for more additional resources, you can go to the ready.gov/severe weather to get more information on severe weather and a lot of weather events that occur here in the state of Oklahoma and specifically in our region. And so I would encourage you all to look at that website and look at that information and practice, because you want to prepare, you want to have a plan, and you want to stay informed as well. So with that, I will pass it to Dr. Jackson.
Thank you for that thorough information. It's great to have it at our fingertips and utilize the resources that we have. So thanks for walking through that. So now is the time we pause and answer any questions that we may have. I've received a couple already. And the first question is, should individuals who are awaiting their second dose of the vaccine submit the vaccination survey? Dean Snavely?
Yeah, great question. For those of you, once you open the survey online, you will see a question that's dedicated to identifying whether or not a campus community member has already begun the vaccination process. So again, as Ms. Powell outlined earlier, there's a lot of logistics that go into this with the state and the potential vendor. And so our hope is that for those who, should it work out, that if they're having trouble securing that second slot, that perhaps there's an option there for us to perform that on the campus if the timing works. But we would encourage anyone who can get appointments for, if they've already been vaccinated, to do that and get vaccinated as soon as possible, if that's the path that you choose, and not to try to wait on the university's logistics. But we will also work with anyone who has, if the timing works with both the state and the vendor, to be able to provide that second shot if it's the right one and all of that sort of aligns. But happy to take more individual questions offline. But we did design a question to get at that information so we'd have a sense of members of the community who might be in that exact situation.
Thank you. We have another question about commencement. Have there been any decisions made about whether our spring commencement will be held virtually or in person? Dean Busby, would you take that one, please?
Thanks, Dr. Jackson. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the question. The Ceremony on Occasions Committee has been meeting or I guess you could say also the commencement committee as well, has been meeting to plan essentially parallel a in-person commencement as well as a virtual commencement. The decision has not been made yet as to which one there will be. One of the things that we're waiting to do, which hopefully we will have done for sure by the end of this week, is to elect our senior class officers, because we would like to have student input on in that decision. Currently, until we have our senior class officers in place, our SGA president, who is also a graduating senior, Ms. Jada Meads, is serving on the committee, but we would also like to have representation from the senior class, as well as from Langston, LU OKC and LU Tulsa, which also will be one of the officers that will be elected as well. And once we get them in place to have that conversation with them, a message will be going out and a decision will be made. So stay tuned for that. That decision will be coming hopefully within the next couple of weeks for sure.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions in our chat or in our Q&A. So as always, if questions come up after we've signed off, feel free to send those questions to LUELT@langston.edu. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have. And so before we end, we like to highlight resilience that we notice throughout our campus community. And this week's Reflecting on Resilience segment will be brought to you by Dean Snavely. Dean?
Thanks, Dr. Jackson. And we're doing a bit of a surprise on Chief Holland and his team this week. So he didn't have a say in our selection, but we did want to highlight his team and the wonderful work that they do on the front lines of the university day in and day out, whether we're here or not. So and round the clock. So from morning to night, every day that we're ever closed as a university, they're open. And I know many of us throughout the pandemic who've been in around the campus on the emergency leadership team have gotten to see that daily work that happens with Chief and his team. And I think we all have a healthy appreciation for frontline workers more than we used to at the beginning of this pandemic 1 year later. For many, of us, we've been able to carry out our functions through Zoom and at home or on different site locations. The work of police is not a Zoomable job. They're out there day by day, interacting with our students, our stakeholders, helping, serving. And I believe, and I know I can speak for my other colleagues on the call, that their work is not just about police function. They are true leaders and servants in the community. You see a picture here of the team serving food in the CAF as in the pandemic, masked up, of course. You see Officer Holiday, Chief in the middle. It's hard to see without his beard there. He's got his mask on, and Officer Galbraith on the end. Again, serving in the community, making sure that all of us know of the good work that they do. They're at all of our sporting events. Here's another shot of them serving Dean Dr. Patterson Harris in the food line. So we're grateful to them in all of the work that they do, whether it's at the games. I think we've got a couple of shots of them working at some of the football games and at the Welcome Center. You see Chief and Officer Galbraith at one of our football games, and then working the Welcome Center on the right. No task is too big or too small for them, and truly a part of what makes our campus safe. And they've done it in really trying times, and we appreciate them. We're better for them, and want to give thanks to Chief Holland, his leadership, and the work of his team to keep our community safe, secure, and resilient throughout the pandemic. So big thanks to LUPD. Stop and say thank you to them when you see them for all of the service, and we're grateful for them and all that they do.
Thank you, Dean, and thank you, Chief, you and your team for all that you do for our community, our campus community. So we've come to the end of our webinar. As a reminder, all of our webinars are posted on our COVID-19 resource page of our website, D2L, as well as the university's YouTube channel. So please join us next week, Monday, March 29th at our regular time of 12:30, when we'll bring you our next webinar. And until then, take care, Lions. Thanks and have a great week.